Alright, so now we're going to just look at the puppet pin tool. I have prepared my closest I could get to a Don Hertzfeldt character, just to show, if you don't have mad skills, it's not a big deal. You can animate anything, really, inanimate objects, photographs. Look at Terry Gilliam and the animations in Monty Python. It's just cutout animations. So, if you feel like, oh, I'm not an artist, don't worry about that at all. But here's the basic techniques of using the puppet pin tool and little bits on like how to animate a character in After Effects. I've got a bunch of layers here that I created. I actually tried out Adobe's new Fresco. They've got a thing, but it's only for Windows, unfortunately, or if you have an iPad, or you can use it on an iPad. It's not on the Mac OS yet, but I downloaded it for Windows, and I thought it was fun. You can do layers of drawing and things like that. It's kind of like Illustrator, but different. Much more of a drawing, sketching program. Anyway, you can open it up in Photoshop. Layers are all separated. I made them all as separate layers, and then just brought them over to After Effects a la Photoshop. I don't know if this new After Effects opens up the Fresco files, but it worked any way it goes. So I've got a face here and a head, arms, left, right, torso, and a little background, because otherwise it's just just that on a black background. So if I wanted to now animate this character, what I have to do is set it up first, though. I can start doing it if I want to, but anything I do now in terms of rotations or anything are all going to rotate around the anchor points, and it's placing the anchor points in the middle of everything. And I don't want everything, anchored to the middle. The arms, I want it to go from the shoulder like an arm does, and a leg, from the torso. So what I want to do is I want to then set up all my anchor points before I even start anything. So for the head, I want the anchor point to go at the neck. So I'm just going to hold down Y, which is the anchor point key. I'm now holding it down. If you just click on Y, it'll just create the anchor point for you. V, of course, is your pointer tool. Y. So I'm back to V. So now if I do anything with this head, it's going to go from that anchor point. And you'll say, but Mark, the face isn't connected to the head. And this is where I would use parenting. So I'm going to parent the face to the head. The idea would be that I could have all these things separated. I just made the face all as one. But the face can be moved separately, so if the head's bobbing up and down, you can do a separate bob of the face as well, so you can bob up and down this way. Of course, I attach the hair to it. It's not the best idea. But anyway, you get the point. But now if I do the head, it's going to follow along because it's a child now. The torso, I think the middle is fine, but for the arms, I definitely want to change my set Y, which is up here, by the way, the pan behind anchor point tool. I'll say put that there. Next arm, same thing. Legs, same thing. Attached to the torso. And the other leg, same. So now everything is animatable by, and I'm just holding down the shift key, shift plus and minus. For plus and minus is a rotation. I can open it up and hit R and do it all that kind of way, but I know all the shortcuts, and so should you. Shift minus will go 10 pixels at a time. Plus and minus just goes 1. And if I hold down Command Shift or Control Shift plus and minus, then it'll be scale. Even here, if he's walking towards camera, you could see how you could easily animate this scale this way. So now that I've got that done, all I have to do is create, you know, if I wanted him to wave his left arm, I'm going to hit R for rotation. I do need that now because I need to start a keyframe. And his arm's going to go up. It'll go up and then go down. And I'm hitting shift page up, page down to go 10 frames forward, you can see here. So shift page up, page down. I can of course just drag this and do it this way as well. I just find if I'm at the keyboard, it's a lot easier. So there you go. Really crappy animation, which is fine for what we're doing. So I can take the right arm, I can have it raise this one up. And you can see that, you know, if you easy ease this, it's going to be a lot smoother. But this is terrible animation, but I'm just doing this for speed. That looks terrible. But anyway, you can easy ease all your animations and stuff. But really, the one thing I want you to pay attention to, let's just start his head this way. And if I want to repeat, of course, I can copy and paste keyframes as well. All that kind of stuff. So if I want to use the puppet pin tool now, you can do sort of it's like a rubber band style animation here with this character. So say I did want his hand to wave with this. So the thing comes up. And I want now his hand to go up. So he's going up, the hand will go down. Then when it comes down, to go back up. I can use what's called the puppet pin tool. And the puppet pin tool is this one here. And if I use this, what I can do is I can add pins. Pin in his hand. And when you start to move these pins, you'll see they'll move between. Now, obviously, it's just rotating between that pin and that. So I need a third pin, which is going to be up here where the arm is. And I might make a little elbow pin as well. And let's just see where we're at. Yes, now it's definitely looking Hertzfeldian. Woo! So, you know, if I didn't want that to move at all, then I could add another. Then we're just moving towards that. I kind of like that. That's very Hertzfeldian. So the nice thing about the pin tool, though, is that it will create keyframes for you as you go along. So it's under the deform, under the mesh. So this is in the effects, puppet, mesh. Here are all our pins, and it already starts keyframes for us. So he lifts his arm up, and then we could take the hand down, you know, and then goes down. We can move the hand up. And so on and so forth down the line. So you get the idea. And then you could pin the other arm as well, as we've done. So it creates a little thing. Gets out. Take the pin. And you see it all looks very mechanical. So you as an animator would have to animate this to make it into something. But this is the basics of using the pin tools, you know. And the same thing with their legs, you know, when you want him to lift his leg, you can create pins at the knee, foot, the torso, and then when he lifts his knee and his foot, and you really get that spaghetti sort of feel to the whole thing. And the same thing with the other leg as well. So you get the idea of basically how to... Oh, I forgot to pin to one side. to start rigging your character up a little bit and then animating the various elements. Like I said, this one's very very rubber band. Oh, I've got to actually change the pins now to animate. And if you don't like where it's animating, of course, you can hit your U key. Realize I pinned it over here, and then pull all your keyframes to where you want them, as per usual. To be honest, it's a lot harder to do a stick figure than I thought. But there you go. So that's the puppet pin tool. And you can do it on photographs. You can do it on video. You can do it on anything. Just warping it. The important thing for you to take away from this is that you want to set up your anchor points on anything. You want separate layers, of course. If you have to separate something out, you separate in Photoshop. You can separate here in After Effects as well, just by using, duplicating layers and masking out the areas you wanted. Like if I did want to separate his mouth, I could take the face layer and duplicate it. Create a mask around that area. And I'll call that mask mouth. And you'll say, but it's still in the face. If I turn that off, it is. So now what I want to do is take that mask, hit M, copy that mask, paste it onto the face. And then when I hit M, right now it's on an add layer. I just go to the mask, subtract, and now the mouth is gone. And if you have various mouths, you can replace these if you want to have a little dialogue or anything going on. So that's it. That's the puppet pin tool. You can use it in all sorts of fun ways. Like I showed in class, the using it for transitions and things like that. Notice again, it's playing all the way through and it stops at some point. If I wanted to, I can just hit N. It's a Norman, and that'll take my workspace. You can drag the workspace around too if you want. But N and B are easy to remember. And that way you just work on the area you're working on. It's terrible. Anyway, you get the idea. You can give them blinks and do all sorts of stuff. The nice thing about this kind of animation is that it's so naive, you could get away with a lot. There's some great plugins as well for rubber band animation. If you're into this sort of thing and want to spend $50 or something, there's if you look it up, rubber band animating in After Effects, they've got like really great tools to be able to do this, so that that you're not struggling with the pins like we are here. But the struggle is just more apparent, for this particular one, is because it is just like a little spaghetti monster at this point. So he's if it was thicker legs and stuff like that, it wouldn't look so spaghetti. But that's okay. That's the beauty of a Hertzfeldt animation, which I'll link down below. Watch yourself some Hertzfeldt and then make your own. I'd say just start, and you'd have to do a lot more work on it, but good enough for the 15 minutes I took to show you the pin tools, and of course anchor points and parenting. So now everything goes. Oh, by the way, I don't know if I've said this before, but when this is the face is parented here, but they can have their own properties as well. So so if I were to say do a scale animation on his eyes, his hair will go with it, but it can do it within the parent. So even though it's following the animation of the parent, it can have its own animation. It's like a child. It can do whatever it wants on its own as well. but it has to follow the parent. But at the same time, you can do your own little animations within this, so it can have separate animation from the parent animation, which is great because then you can see you can do stuff like that, have some fun. Anyway, I'll leave you with that. Play around, make your own stick figure. Use the one I gave you, the zombie character, and onwards to the rotoscoping tool.